Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name's Jamie Keat. I'm a YouTuber. What makes this really special to me is that I kind of run two different lives here. I'm actually a full-time teacher still. And if anybody was going to ask me what I did, I'll say I'm a teacher. I don't even think. So I have a YouTube channel with over 1 million subscribers. And if anybody asks, I'm a teacher. But then it's starting to notice the impact it has as we're all sitting here like this. And so I'm really curious to going to find out more about each of you. And I have had the chance to talk to you a little bit today and yesterday with Jakob a little bit and Dr. Malik. I haven't really had a chance to sit down. So what I really want to know is just a little bit about how you got here, connection, what you're thinking about education. And then I just have some other questions for you that will go from there.
Yes. My name is Rashid, and I've been making content for the last 5 years. And in the education space, I've been making content for the last, I should say, 3 to 4 years. That's when I kind of pivoted from travel content to content that tells meaning stories, but at the same time does educate. Yeah, that's what I do.
Thank you.
Okay, hi. I'm Jacob. I'm from Germany. I run a YouTube channel called Breaking Lab, where I talk about innovations and technologies for a better future. And I also wrote my PhD about educational videos and how we can improve them in a way that people learn more and have fun doing this.
Hi, super excited to be here. I'm Ritesh Malik. I'm a medical doctor by education, but finally destiny had me to do my own startup. I run one of the largest co-working spaces back in India. And I realized there are so many people like me who are not trained to be an entrepreneur or a businessman. I have no MBA degree. And I just learned everything from educators like you on YouTube. And then I said that, can I help millions of MSMEs, which are the small, medium enterprises, and entrepreneurs, let them know what all mistakes I did so that they do not repeat the same. And I just started it last. And by the way, you should know, I am a mad introvert. I hate meeting people. But the idea that I just realized that social media is so powerful, even introverts like me can actually impart some sort of awareness, create transformation. So very grateful to be born in this era, and very grateful to everything that Destiny has allowed me to do.
Oh, amazing. Now, my first question, I'm just thinking about with you being an entrepreneur and even with your company, Create.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, do you see in the future where we're looking at content creators providing the education that they need, or will it be that you're from more of a traditional, being a doctor, that traditional learning, will it ever could be just content creators that you would take that as enough knowledge if people said, well, I learned from this content creator?
Okay, we also run a university back in India, and you should know about India. 65% of our population is below the age of 35. We are a young nation, one of the youngest in the world when it comes to demography. And Indian education system is running 20 years behind what is happening today. The challenge with institutions is, and why creator-led education is the future of the world, is that institutions cannot keep pace because they at least need 5 to 6 years to add subjects. Like, I'll give you an example. There is no formal subject of algorithmic understanding in our institutions. There is no formal subject of creator understanding in our institutions. So my belief is that the future of education by 2035 will be creator and institutional partnerships, will be AI tutors, and will be micro-credentials. Back in India, the university that we run, our thesis is amalgamation of two disciplines. Example, robotics with surgery, medical surgery, will be the future of education. And the only question is, how do we safeguard the people, the learners, from experts who actually do not have those credentials? So that's one of the biggest challenges that we face today, but I genuinely feel that creator economy is here to stay. Creators are going to be, and the biggest difference is we are vulnerable. we can tell that I just told I'm an introvert, I have challenges in meeting people, but being vulnerable is one of the best ways to be authentic, and I just believe that there'll be so many inspiring stories by just creators inspiring other people to actually follow their path.
And Rashid, just thinking about the youth and everything and accessibility to traditional university around the world, like what opportunities does it give?
Yeah, so for me, I think right now the entire education system is kind of centralized. So people know that if I want to learn something ABCD, I have to go to a university. If I want to learn, yes, let's say, marketing, I need to go to a marketing college. But in the next, 10 years, it might not be tomorrow, it might not be next year, but in the next 10 years, I am personally confident and sure that the education system is going to be decentralized. So whereby people will have gained enough trust in creators, but that won't take away the fact that schools and institutions are going to stay. They are going to stay, but the whole education system is going to be decentralized. Why? Because of accessibility. I come from Africa, from East Africa, and if you look at the number of institutions that can provide the same level of education, the institutions are quite less. They are very less. So in the future, decentralization is going to happen. We're going to see a lot more people turning to creators to learn, but at the same time, schools and universities are going to go there to stay. But they will also find formalities to decentralize their systems and make them, more accessible as well.
I mean, I already know I see content, well, even my content on tech, I know universities already use it to teach the students, right? It's already started, and then, yeah, I can see that further evolving into what you're saying.
Exactly.
Jakob, I'm kind of curious. You were talking about I'm going to get some tips here because you're talking about your PhD in online content or online courses, right? Is there anything, like even with your channel in science, do you use any of the things from your PhD, like into the technique, or is there any techniques when?
Sure. I think there's so much like ways we can improve learning, and I think that's something that is important. What you both already mentioned, like with content, we have the possibility to produce like the best educational content. We can take time for it, and we can like follow a lot of rules. Of course, out of research, we know a lot of rules. We know about parasocial relationships and how they can improve learning, how they can improve motivation. We know about like how chunking informations can help. We know about like our system, our audio and our visual system. If we like create animations that like work for both of these, very good, then the learning can be improved. So we can take all of these rules and create really good content. And of course, this is something I try to do with my content, but I mean, I don't do like topics out of school. I talk about technology, so it's not like the institutional learning that I try to change. But I think in the long term, educational learning will be changed by this because it makes so much sense. It's more effective. It can be better content. And if I think back, for example, at university, so I studied physics, and if I sit there and listen to a lecture, I could say like there could be a video well produced that would be so much more interesting, that would be so much more easy to follow instead of a old guy who's very intelligent but not super motivated to teach right now because he wants to research. And I think if we have a video that will teach us like quantum physics, maybe this could be a good part. And then at university, we can do the practical part. We can go in the laboratory and stuff like this, learn with the other students to work together on physical problems. But like the lecture part, I think that is a part where it's really easy to like bring it into educational content.
Yeah, a pedagogy for online, like looking at it that style, and having all those learning systems in place. I'm going to check that out to help me with my videos too. A question that any of you can answer is, as you were talking, I was just thinking about short form content. Now, do you guys see that, like if I think about a YouTube short, is that too short in order to teach something, or is it just a hook to bring you into something longer? And any of you, if you want to answer that, or?
If you want, I can start. To be honest, I think like short form content, and we also know this from researchers, it's okay to learn like one or two facts on something, but usually it's not a way to like really understand concepts. And one of the reasons why we really struggle to learn with this super short form content is that for learning, we need concentration. And you can produce the best educational content in the world, but if people are not focused, they're not going to learn. And because the whole short form content concept is on swiping and swiping and swiping, like we know that the chances are really high that like 10 minutes after you watched the video, you can't remember what you watched already because you probably watched 20 other short form contents in this time. So to be honest, I think it is good to give a little fact or a talking point and maybe get interested into the topic. But for real learning, I think it's difficult, to be honest.
I completely agree. I think short form content is great for just a hook to actually convert that program to actually something which is a long form content. But my view is that the biggest challenge that educators face today is that gaming the algorithm is very hard. I'll give you an example. Back in India, we have close to 100 billion internet users spending 6 hours and 59 minutes each day on the internet. 51% of that is social media. Now, the challenge is, when you go online, let's assume TikTok is banned in India, so we go on Instagram. Now, on Instagram, the content that works is the content that has, say, 20 to 22 seconds of average view time. Now, for those kind of contents, the challenge is a lot of creators are taking the shortcut. Example, back in India, we have a lot of vulgar content that is coming in. And for educators, how do you fight with that content? Because also you should know about India. As a demography, our country is very naive when it comes to digital literacy. Our population has just used the internet for the first time. And for them to actually take care of their mind is very hard, especially when it's very easy at an early stage to actually go to vulgar content. So my view is that long-form content, especially YouTube, I'll give you an example. We have Nikhil here who runs Zerodha. He's one of the most famous entrepreneurs back in India. And he has started his content journey. And he's teaching millions of entrepreneurs on what to do and what not to do. Now, I think this is the way to go, and long-form content, at least 20 minutes in my view, is the threshold if you want to learn even something which is as basic as a small concept of entrepreneurship.
Oh, thank you. Did you want to add anything, Rashid? Or?
Yeah, so for me, I think if someone would want to learn something, I think long-form content is the best way to go, but that doesn't eradicate short-form content right away. That people cannot learn from short-form content. A very good example is a few weeks back, I made a short video on how the UAE creates rain, cloud seeding. It was a minute long. I didn't explain much. There wasn't much depth in the video, but the day after, my mom sent me, a voice note telling me how she learned how the UAE makes rain. So I didn't break down the deeper core on how rain is, made, but I did highlight the key pillars on how the entire process happens. So short-form content will give, learners the broader picture, but if someone wants deeper levels of understanding, that's when they turn to long-form content to learn more.
When I think about standing up in front of a class teaching, we use a hook or a launch to get that curiosity. And I'm kind of thinking it the same way. If you can spark that curiosity in that short where someone says, you know what, I want to learn more about that, and then you can connect it to other videos. Or because if you can get that path started, and for the new generation, you don't have their attention span. You're trying to sell them something pretty quick, this idea of try this, right? And so, okay, thank you. Another thing I was just thinking about with this, transformation of going online, more creators creating, and I have twin 12-year-old boys, and they're in grade 7, and they go to school. I don't really think about curriculum as the big thing. I want them to go get in trouble, solve a problem, play sports, all these different things. Now, as we move into the world of more content creating, if they're not going to this structured. I had a lot of fun at university. I really enjoyed it. So is that taking something out of the equation that's important, that social networking? Is there ways that we can kind of keep that in there somehow?
I can go. Very passionate about education. My belief is that schools will always be relevant. Now, the purpose of school will become socialization, learning how to coexist, learning how to behave, learning how to contribute and create impact. But by the end of the day, my belief is that the learning that you can get in a school, it's very hard to replicate in an online world, at least with the technology that we have today. I'm absolutely biased for the fact that to learn skills, it's very easy to go online and learn a skill. But if you want to learn how to live, I think socialization is a very important part of it. I'll give you a very interesting example. Back in India, we run a university called Plaksha. Now, in that university, what happens is we have a program called the ILGC, Innovation Lab and Grand Challenges. The highest level of engagement by students is that they want to build something and they want to fail. The goal of a university is actually helping teach resilience in students. And I think the shorter content, like I'll just give you an example. I only do short content. I'm very new. I'm just on Instagram. But I've seen the shorter content is great to create that discovery. But where magic happens, where true transformation happens, where people change their mind is when they are able to meet in person. As someone before me, my colleague said something beautiful, that creators who are able to then take their following into physical spaces and do a hybrid model, that level of brand stickiness is something every creator should look at for the next at least 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, Jakob.
Well, I think I totally agree on that point. Like the social part is super important, and if you go into an innovative company nowadays, you will see that there's not this one person who builds, I don't know, this new app or anything. It's a team. So teamwork is important, and you can't learn teamwork from a video. You have to go out, work with people. You can use parts of it. You can like the lecture part, for example, in university, you can use a video for that. You can even better use AI, because then you can make it interactive. We know from studies, there's a big study from a guy called Richard Haig. What he did is he investigated 5,000 students in physics, and what he found out is if there's some interaction, like not a lecture where someone is just talking, but an interaction where the students have to work on an example on some problems, then the learning curve is twice as high. They learn twice as much and get a deeper understanding. And I think this is where AI gets really interesting. So I think if we have like the social part, we have to do it obviously with humans, but then we can, like the learning part at home, we can use AI and make it interactive, and that will boost learning to a new level and make it accessible to everybody. And I think this is the new thing. And it's going to be interesting how creators will be involved in that. Like I said, we have parasocial relationships to our audiences. So, I mean, in the future it could be possible that there's an AI version of me that learns with somebody at home and who's always there, always awake, always have time, and try to explain it in a way I would usually do it. So I think, yeah, the combination of content creators, AI, and traditional forms of learning, that is something that is really impactful and that will change the way that we are learning.
Do you have anything to add, Rashid? Or no. The thing that was coming to my mind as you were talking to, and we're going to get to the AI topic in a moment, because I'll leave that to the last, because I'm sure we can talk about so many different ways on that one. Just thinking about the accountability. And we've talked about it this summit here, many different ways for transparency, accountability. In education, there's a school board, or there is a principal, or there's, somebody, the teacher has its curriculum to go from. Who's the accountability for that content creator that maybe is wrong, but they're, the algorithm's liking them? What do we do?
So for me, on accountability, I think creators need accountability, but not in a traditional setup, like a school board to come and hold you accountable. creators are already accountable in a way that if you say something that is misleading consistently, you lose your audience, you lose your trust. I've seen so many creators who had accountability before, and right now, they're no longer credible because of the approach they had in their content. So creators do really need accountability, and also instead of getting accountability, for me, I think we would need more sourcing and credibility on where we do better. So that's what I can say about that.
I totally agree. Like, we as a creator, we stand there with our face. And I don't know, I try not to make mistakes, but I'm a human, so I will do some mistakes at some point. And for me, it's the worst. Of course, I will take responsibility. I will tell my audience, oh, I did a mistake there. Let me correct this. What I think what is important about this, and then we get back to the AI part, I'm sorry, but we have to talk about it. We live in an age where there are more and more AI channels. I don't know if you see these, but it's crazy. There are channels that put out a video every day, obviously made with AI. Nowadays you can still tell, oh, it's an AI voice. But what I think is so dangerous about it is there's not a person standing with his or her face for the content that is produced.
Putting themselves on the line.
Yes, and that's a problem because, like I said, when I do a mistake, this is my face and I'm responsible. I have a team behind me that helps me produce the videos, but if there's a mistake, it is my responsibility to take accountability and say, oh, I'm sorry, I did this wrong. But with an AI channel, like, there's not this feeling of responsibility, I think. And this is what I guess we have to talk about. Like, maybe we need some rules for this, because I think that could be dangerous. And I saw so many AI videos about new technologies that solve everything. And if you know a little bit about it, you know it's fake. It's bullshit. But there's so many people watching it, so many people don't understanding it. So yeah, I think we need this responsibility, and the best way to get responsibility or to take responsibility is if it's your face, you're standing there, and yeah, you're accountable for what you do.
And you see the race for, when something's trending like, Claudebot, well, it's not even called that anymore, whatever it's called, OpenBot today, I think, how fast content was going out for that without anybody even going deep into, like, what are all the security or different things, right? Like, so no one has the time to dive deeper into some of these concepts. Dr. Malik, would you like to add something there?
I think this is one of the most important questions you've asked. I think accountability for something that did not exist, say, 2 decades back, wherein we do not have guardrails even, where we're not talking about roadmaps or strict regulation. I'm a huge proponent that over-regulation kills innovation. But by the end of the day, there needs to be a framework of guardrails, because now India has, I can talk about India. India has 4.5 million creators. And in my view, it's a very controversial statement, but almost 40 to 50% of them are chasing virality. Now, their goal is that, so it's very simple. How do you game the algorithm? Now, what happens is they focus on how to increase their average view time, and for the first few seconds, what viral statement they can claim, say, or intrigue you into to watch till the end. Now, once you are fighting all of this, the responsibility, in my view, more than the creators, comes on the big tech platforms. Yesterday, we were talking about government. In my view, governments do not have a very high role to play here, because if governments start entering into the creator ecosystem, governments again make this the education model, which has literally failed, at least back in India, in my view. So my submission is, we create guardrails, especially by the big tech ecosystem. I'll give you an example. Back in India, on Grok, I can send a picture of a boy and a girl, underage boy and a girl, and have them start make out. And those videos can be sent to the family of the girl, and the girl actually gets harassed. And this happens very frequently back in India. So what I'm saying is that the accountability, there needs to be more technological innovation on how we can spot the wrong news, fake news, and news which but by the way, I love on X how Grok is managing, by just like tagging Grok, you can get to know whether this is true or not. And I think we need more of that from Meta, from Google, and other big tech players. And lastly, I have this very deep, nuanced view on this, and that is that as a creator, I do not care, and that's maybe because I'm an entrepreneur. I do not earn my bread from that, but I do not care about how, I don't make any money out of that. My goal is, I don't care my average view times. What I care about is, what I'm saying, is that true? Will this create certain change in my audience? And my audience can be 100 people. I'm totally okay with that. But if you do that consistently, I have a math formula for trust. And trust will be the biggest leverage on the planet. The math formula is trust is equal to credibility into intimacy into consistency divided by self-interest. Can you post content which, according to you, is extremely pious, well verified, has sources, relevant sources, and by the way, no audience watches sources, but it's your responsibility to add sources, to tell them that in this, and obviously education around this, because I see so much fake viral news happening in India, and that is something which is not good.
No, I see the importance to keep the integrity of education. If content is being shared, like you need that human in the loop still. If they're vetting it, my students are going to see this, but I've gone through and this is accurate. And now I'm going to go into the AI and think about, like, I kind of see a merging of two different things as we think as content creators. So I think about what I do. I create online tutorials, and I'm thinking, okay, how long is this, how long can this actually last? Because am I just going to go to AI and show me how to do this, control my computer, and walk me through these steps in whatever language I want, go slow, explain it like I'm 5 years old, whatever way. I'm standing in a classroom last week with kids, showing them Gemini, Notebook LM, everything, and I'm starting to realize that the whether it be online on YouTube or in a classroom, it's going to be the same thing, right? Like it's all merging into one. So is AI going to be the great democratizer of, you think about teaching people all around the world, but going back to, we talked this with the social interaction, we can't take social interaction out of learning, especially with kids, right? That's such a big part of development. I guess I'm asking, what your vision of AI, where do you see it going in education, in the content creator world? Because I can't even imagine right now, like how this is, or does it force us to go or to create something, or are we going to have to be more entertainers than educators sometimes?
For me, I think the future of AI, when it comes to education, there's going to be a seamless integration of both. Because if you look at the stage at where AI is at the moment, it's, artificial intelligence is not yet perfect. It still does, make lots of errors. A very good example, once again, was when I was, researching one of my videos. So I do use ChatGPT quite a lot when I'm, doing lots of my rough research, but I always do go back to do my thorough, research on, let's say, articles through, on different websites where I find credibility. So no matter how much AI is going to advance, for me, I still do feel like, it will never be 100%, correct. It will never have that human, thinking. So the future is going to be, an integration of both AI and logical human decision making when it comes to, let's say, making students learn, or when it comes to creating educational content.
To be honest, I disagree a little bit about it because, we see AI is at a point where it makes less and less mistakes. Of course, there will be some mistakes always because it depends on the input, what data it learned from. But we already can see that it makes less mistakes than human, in some areas. I think the important part about it will definitely change the way we learn. It will also change the way we live. It will also change the way we perceive reality. We already talked about it, all these AI channels. I think what is the most important part about it is that it depends on us what we make out of it. I think I took out this mirror that we got yesterday at the beginning because I think that's such a good idea. The biggest transformation in history is you. And we will decide what we will make with AI, because we have to. It is there. There's no sense, like, when I hear people talking about, oh, should we stop research on AI, I think, like, what the hell are we talking about? It is there. People will always research about it, and if we don't do it, like, other people will do it and can use it maybe in a bad way. But we as a society have the chance to see where this goes. And when we come back to, like, the social interaction part, I think what gives me hope is that we have seen this so often. We've seen chess computers, for example. And back then, people said, like, oh, people are never going to watch a chess game again because the chess computer is now better than a human. And that's wrong. And I think it's the same with content creators. I want to know that's a real person that I can meet in person. And I see this, like, when I'm at events and I'm meeting people, like, there's a special connection if they see your videos for years and then they meet you and they tell them your story. And this is something that AI can't take of you. It can be interactive in some way, but this in-person meeting, socializing, it can't. And I think that is what gives me hope, and that I think this is also important that we as a society embrace it. Sorry.
No, fantastic perspectives. I think, in my view, AI is the best thing that has happened to humanity. I'm a huge believer that artificial intelligence will add significant GDP, prosperity, saving time for humanity. So I am hugely pro-AI. But my take on AI for at least content creators is, example, I never let AI, I never do AI videos. That's not because that AI videos, my challenge is I do not want to be easy. The biggest challenge with AI is that it makes you complacent, and I owe it to my audience. My audience is small. My audience is some, say, 500,000 people on Instagram, but I owe it to them. I owe to them that I need to make good quality content. I will use AI for research. I will use AI for captions. I will use AI for even like designing my thumbnails. But I will not use AI to displace me, because then my hard work goes. And the people, now just imagine, amongst all of us here, we would, like, combined, we would have millions of viewers. We owe it to them that we create content which is authentic, which adds value. My only litmus before hitting the post button is, will this change someone's life if implemented? And if that's not happening, then we're not here to just, like, I'm an entrepreneur. I don't care about posting content. I really want to ensure it helps the other person. Now, on AI, in my view, the future of education and AI is, AI will do certain things really well. Example, you go to GenSpark, it can build PowerPoint presentations much better than the best designer on the planet. AI can really create some phenomenal artistic stuff. What AI cannot do, and what do we need to teach our students today, is how to think, how to assemble information. My grandfather told me, we hail from a middle-class North Indian Punjabi family. My grandfather told me something beautiful. He said, do you know that for our generation, doing math of 935 into 935 was very easy. For you, it's not, because you have the calculators. He told me something, that you need to learn two things if you want to be successful in life. The first one, you need to think. You need to think for yourself. You need to think and not believe. AI cannot do that for you right now. At least for the next decade or so, AI cannot think that well. AI is a machine, and I consider it to be a very average machine. The second thing what AI cannot do is to hang in there when shit hits the fan, to be resilient. And that is why schools, physical infrastructure comes in. You go and meet people. AI cannot help you to be resilient. So my view on education and on content creation overall is, create content that's authentic, that is traceable, and on impact, the goal is what changed, by how much, for whom, and who will be verifying the change. If there's no fourth point, that means we are just doing it for selfish reasons. The idea is, amongst all of us, can we create significant change for the last man standing? My only question whenever we take any business decision is there something we are doing for the 144th crore most resourceless individual in our country? If the answer is no, then we really need to think on impact.
Okay, just one last question now. I'm going to get you guys to pretend you're in the spot of being a minister of education. Thinking what we've just talked about with creators and AI, what is just something, I'm not asking for a lot, just kind of a short sum up, like what would be your goal as that minister of education? This is going to help if we take this action.
I can go. I've voiced it multiple times back in my country. Have creators, okay, very interesting thing. Who becomes a teacher back in India? Anyone who does not get their preferred job becomes a teacher. That is why the country is being led by some of the most non-motivated people on the planet. Now, the thing is, get creators to actually join experts. Can we have, because creators know behavior psychology, they know how to pass a message. Can we have a breast cancer surgeon with an influencer who knows about breast cancer, and they join forces and then teach about a subject? I think that is the future of content creation. Amalgamation of creators with experts on that subject who've spent 40 to 50 years. I think magic happens there.
I think that's really good. Okay, if I could advise a government to change one thing, for me, it is that it is super important that we teach not just young people, but also older people how to use social media. Because I think the creators, like you said, they are already pretty good at what they're doing, and like there are programs that help them. What really frightens me, that is that we're using a technology, and the average screen time on social media for an adult human is 4.5 hours every day. So we spend an enormous amount of time on this platform, and we never learned how to do that. And I think it is so important because, like I said yesterday already, like the last research I did during my PhD was we did a study where we asked the people, like, how do you use social media? But we started with asking them, what do you think is a healthy amount of time to spend on social media? What kind of content would you be interested in? And then we looked at their real screen time, and we looked at the real content they used, like screening their phone. And then we saw it's so different. And what shows this to me is that we are not able to use social media in a way that is healthy for us, that benefits us. I think social media can benefit us a lot. It can help us learn. And there are some people that are learned themselves how to deal with social media, not to spend too much time, watch content that is really interesting for them. But there are so many people that are doom scrolling, that are getting depressions. We know this from studies. Depressions are higher if I have a social media addiction. We know this from studies that it takes so much, it makes us less efficient in work. When we use screen time, more mistakes are made, less time is spent on working. All of these we know. But still, I haven't seen one government that brings in a subject that helps people to learn how to social media. And I think that would be so important also for us as a society, because, I mean, social media is a tool that can change a lot. And if we don't know how to use it, it can also be dangerous.
Thank you.
So for me, I think what I would love to see more would be more on regulations. Because if we educators get regulated by the governments, for example, that automatically gives us credibility. Because if you, for example, if I want to learn something and I have to come to you and I know that, oh, this person was, let's say, regulated, certified by the Ministry of, Education, on this particular matter, I'm more likely to trust your information. And this is something that we cannot do alone as creators. We cannot, regulate ourselves. But, that's where, the authorities would love to come in. I would love them to come in.
Thank you. Just throughout this summit here and just the conversations between this panel and all the different ones we've seen, we see the direct contact that creators have in that connection to government. We're on the first hand where we can iterate, prototype so quickly to find out where things and make changes happen quickly, and it just makes me see even more importance, that connection where we are in this whole workflow. So I'd like to thank you for sitting here today with me and answering all these questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you too.